Okay, so today we will be discussing chapter 3 of the book. And the title of the chapter class is Evolution by Natural Selection. Now, evolution class, there are two mechanisms how evolution is taking place. The first one is we call as natural selection. It is all about adaptation. It is all about the right characters that allows you to survive. On the other hand, the other mechanism is basically called genetic drift. So genetic drift is an evolutionary event that is based on chance and chance alone. So we need to say it's not directed and it is just a random event. Or in short, it's just basically by chance. So today, what we're going to discuss class is basically that type of evolution because of certain adaptation called natural selection. You see, when organisms class in Earth, we are basically connected and we are not independently created. Meaning, say, there are at a certain point and to a certain degree a relationship that exists. And this existence class is mainly a way of adaptation for an individual to survive. So if you're going to look at this diagram, this is a tracing whale myoglobin evolution. So understanding the relationship of whales to other groups of organisms to understand the closest relatives of whale. Now we have a different lecture about whales origin, and they found out in this particular diagram, as you can see, that whales are basically associated with a certain group of archaeodactyls. Yeah. So you have here a group of whales, and then you have here archaeodactyls, or those terrestrial animals groups. And they actually utilize here gas, myoglobin, a certain type of protein that is coded, coding genes that is associated with muscles. But in our discussion in the next chapter, they use another type of gene. This time it is for milk production, or the milk or gene associated with milk, which is casein. And they found out as well that whales are closely related to archaeodactyls. Now, the possibility that whales are said to be more ancient as compared to other terrestrial animals are still questionable. No? Are loss of limbs considered as an ancient character, or loss of limbs was actually favorable in order for that particular organism to survive? A very clear example class are those that are under the land plants. And if you're going to look at this diagram, this is a straightforward type of adaptation. So if you're going to look at this particular cladogram, the whole clade class is actually called Chlorobiota, or the green plants. And they are characterized by having a green chloroplast. And then, as you can see, Chlorobiota are a group of organisms characterized by having algae, which are paraphyletic, because it is characterized by several organisms, but it doesn't include its common ancestor. And they're all aquatic, and only from here are what we call as the land plants, or called as embryophytes. So why they're called embryophytes? Because of a special type of structure called embryo. The other groups of organisms are basically Yes. Ay. Sige, tayo mo lang sa akin. So, the other groups of organisms here doesn't have any embryo. Bakit? How is their reproduction taking place? When an algae, so alam niyo mas siguro kami algae, di ba? When an algae class releases a spore, say, so, tago ako siya. Wala. So when an algae releases a spore, or gametes, for that matter, gametes class can either be a male or female. Now these gametes are free swimming, they are motile, so they are flagellated, and so they meet and produce a zygote. The zygote rapidly undergoes meiosis. Kasi di ba, ang gametes is made up of haploid cells. They are haploid cells. And when these gametes fuse together, they form a zygote. But right after fertilization, it undergoes meiosis right away. So meaning to say, that zygote is short-lived as a diploid individual. It automatically right away undergoes meiosis to produce spores that are haploid. And these haploid spores will the one that will germinate into becoming an adult that will produce another gametes. So that's what happens in most algae, no? That we know most of them are characterized by being gametophytic, meaning they are organisms that are characterized by being a gametophyte that produces a gamete. When you look at a plant outside, what you see there are sporophytes, meaning these are organisms that are producing spores. Pero where are the spores? Hindi siya nakikita, class, because the spores are found inside the flower. Diba? Hindi siya yung spores na iniisip nyo na lumilipad. Pollen grain yun. No? Technically, there are spores inside, pero they are found inside the flower. Now, what is very important here, class, are the characters that you can see here. When individuals or when there are certain kinds of primitive form of algae, probably the ancestors of land plants could have the presence of a cuticle in their cell wall. And therefore, those organisms that does not have any cuticle, during the time wherein the seas dried up or lakes becomes drier than usual, most of them die because of desiccation. And so only those organisms characterized by having cuticle are the ones that will survive. And we are not saying that these are the ones here, but most probably the ancestors that are found here are characterized by having cuticle. The next thing is that they cannot swim because lakes dried up, wala ng tubig, and therefore, those that are characterized by being non-motile, capable of surviving, are the ones that can reproduce more. And thus, we now have a group of organisms called embryophytes. Now, when they already accumulated or colonized land, the next problem there is how do we get water? If you're going to look at the diagram, you can see the xylem and phloem. Alam niyo naman siguro yan, di ba? Xylem is for conduction of water, and phloem is for the conduction of sugars. They need to maximize it to get more energy. Di ba? Now, if you're going to look at those before this, like the liverworts, cornworts, and mosses, they are the groups of organisms class that are called bryophytes or non-vascular plants. You need to say, they don't have xylem and phloem. Kaya ano bang itsura class ng mga moss pag nakikita nyo sa labas? Diba? They are just sa mga wall, mga alam niyo ba yung moss class? Yes. So they are like found in the walls of, they are pressed on the walls, they are found prostrate growth, hindi nakadikit sa mga lupa. Why? Because they don't have any xylem and phloem to get in water. No? And therefore, you can only find this group of organisms in a very limited environment. Usually, where? No? Medyo basang environment. Kaya nga pag nakikita nyo class yung mga yan, kailan lang maraming nag-green ang mga walls? Tuwing pag-ulan. So ngayon, makikita nyo, punta kayo ng Intramuros, sobrang green ng walls ng Intramuros, di ba? Or sa mga bahay nyo, makikita nyo ang daming greenish area. Or yung tinutulungan ng aircon, laging may greenish area doon. Why? Because class, aquatic type of reproduction is considered as one of the most primitive type of reproduction. Kailangan ng tubig. Now, next. So meron na silang xylem and phloem, and therefore now you have a group of organisms called tracheophytes, or the vascular plants. So you see, organisms that doesn't have any xylem, those ancestors that doesn't have the xylem and phloem, probably died. No? And only those that has somehow xylem and phloem were able to get water from the soil. And therefore they grow and they colonize more environment than that of the hornworts, mosses, and liverworts. Naintindihan niyo ba? Pero ang problema ngayon is that when you have xylem and phloem and you grow taller than usual, like for example, fern, di ba? Nakakita na ba kayo class ng mga fern na kasing taas ko? Yes. Genus nun ay Cyathea, or the tree ferns. Pero, marami ba ang klase? Wala. Puro ganun lang, di ba? And when you were able to, nakahawak na ba kayo ng Cyathea, yung mga tree fern? Nakahawakan niyo na ba sila? Like when you go to Tagaytay or when you go to Baguio, drive kayo tapos sabi kayo yung paligid, you can see a lot of them. Pero pag hinawakan niyo sila class, tumutubayan sila agad. But majority of the ferns are very, they grow taller than the moss, pero maliit pa rin sila. Why? Because the problem class with xylem and phloem is that as you increase your height, the vessels of xylem become so negative that it causes bursting or bubbles and might cause deleterious effect to the plant. Mamamatay sila kasi yung parang yung mga xylem class parang kang umiinom ng straw ng bubble ng milk tea na may mga pearl. So pag ininom mo yung class, bumara yung pearl doon, makakainom ka pa ba? Hindi na. So ganun din class yung mga xylem. As the pressure in the xylem becomes so negative, and that if the negativity of if the pressure is negative, tapos yung length pa ng tube ay mahaba, masyadong mataas ang tendency na mag-bubbles yun. And the bubbles causes cavitation. And it might prevent water uptake. So mamamatay yung mga plants. Therefore, those plants that can withstand the negative pressure of xylem requires a stronger trunk. Diba? Requires a stronger tissue to hold the xylem. So ano yun? Wood. Yan. So only those organisms na nagkaroon or may mga woody structures are the ones that can survive. And thus you have now the woody structure, which includes the spermatophytes or seeded plants. Nakita niyo ba yung concept ng adaptation? So the next problem is you're able to colonize land, pero hindi ganun ka-effective. Why? Your seeds are all naked. It's naked, it's basically exposed to environmental condition. Pagka uminit, nag-undergo ng desiccation, so madaling mamatay, madaling masira. And so the ultimate evolution class of all land plants are those individuals with ancestors having a closed seed in the form of a flower. So, kaya nga ang mas maraming mga environment or maraming mga they colonize more environmental types, the type of environment, are those that are considered as the flowering plants. Naintindihan nyo? So you see, this particular diagram class tells you what Darwin is telling us, no? About what we call as natural selection. It's all about adaptation. It's all about characters that are already inherent to an organism. And that particular character allows that organism to flourish. That character needs to be transferred from one generation to the next generation. Naintindihan nyo? So, ito ngayon yung problem. So sabi ni Charles Darwin, sabi niya that there is the concept of evolution. They know it already that evolution is happening, di ba? However, if you recognize something, walang problema yon. But recognizing a pattern doesn't constitute a scientific theory. Ibig sabihin, class, kung sinasabi ko to sa inyo kanina kasi may pattern kayong nakikita, di ba? Pero ang sabi ni Charles Darwin, recognition of a pattern does not constitute a scientific theory. Gusto niya, dapat daw, merong mga information that needs to be determined on what we call as the process wherein that pattern is happening. Naintindihan niyo ba yun? Sabi niya, such conclusion, he wrote, even if well-founded, would be unsatisfactory until it could be shown how the innumerable species inhabiting this world have been modified. In other words, if we are to claim that this particular pattern is happening, the question is, ano daw yung mechanism responsible for it? So yun ang gusto kong malaman ni Charles, yun ang gusto kong malaman ni Darwin at that particular time. Kasi alam niya, nakikita niya class yung mga patterns of evolutionary events. Pero ang gusto niyang malaman, ano yung mechanism that causes that particular pattern to take place? Naintindihan niyo ba? Nakuha niyo ba class yung concept? Discussion. And this particular mechanism is basically natural selection. So yan ang sinabi ni Darwin. Sabi niya, evolution is happening because of natural selection. So the topic for today class, ito, how Darwin was able to consider natural selection to take place. Pero take note class nung time ni Darwin, hindi pa niya kilala si Mendel. Naintindihan niyo? Ibig sabihin, when Darwin started work on evolution, Gregor Mendel is yet to publish his work on theory of inheritance. Naintindihan niyo ba? It was only during the 1960s, 50s, 60s, and 70s when scientists started to use Mendel's work and Darwin's work together and sasabi nila, ay, totoo pala yung sinasabi nilang dalawa. Naintindihan niyo? Next. There are several groups of authors before Darwin saying that, well, there is really the possibility of evolutionary event that's happening. Like, Wells used to explain how human population on different continents came to differ in their physical appearance and resistance to disease. There are certain groups of trees characterized by being used as a lumber for ships, while others are not good enough for shipbuilding, and so on and so forth. But one of the most important contributor for Darwin's work is Alfred Wallace. So si Darwin at si Wallace ay magkaibigan. Darwin was actually working on Galapagos Island, while Alfred Wallace is working on Southeast Asia. Apparently, yung nangyari, no, is that Alfred Wallace's work, he always sent it to Darwin as form of letters. No? And he was basically incubating ideas of what he observed in Southeast Asia. And according to them, that what Wallace is saying is that ito yung mga nangyayari sa Southeast Asia, and Darwin was saying, it's almost similar to what we saw in Galapagos Island. Yun ang sinasabi niya. And because of this, Darwin now decided to publish his work, and the paper was all about the natural history. And lo and behold, Darwin became the father of evolution. Diba? Si Wallace, wala. Pero later on, Wallace was declared as the father of geography or biogeography. So binigyan na lang siya ng parang pakonsuelo. In fact, di ba pinag-aralan sa systematics na there was an imaginary line that traverses the Southeast Asia known as the Wallace line, wherein as if there is an imaginary line that prevents the movement of animals. So for example, in Bali, ibang-iba yung mga animals sa Bali going to the west, and then dun sa Lombok going to the east of it. Okay? So yun yung Wallace line. Next. So, the problem with natural selection is that natural selection with considerably greater skepticism than the fact of evolution itself. Plus, there is Lamarckism. A variety of other hypothetical processes remained popular until 1930s. So at that time, remember yung sinasabi natin concept ni Lamarck, the theory of use and misuse. Kasi ito yung mga kinoconsider at that time. Di ba naalala nyo, nag-aral kayo ng STS? Nag-STS ba na ba kayo? Tapos na. O di ba sino prof niyo doon? Sino? O di ba pinag-aralan niyo yung ano bang chapter yun sa STS, yung Intellectual Revolution. Naalala niyo ba yun? Hindi nyo na naalala? Yung people during those times, they don't accept this particular theory. Diba yung, yung kay Copernicus? Diba sabi niya, the sun is center of the solar system. Sabi niya daw. Diba, ano ba? Sigmund Freud's theory of, ano ba yung kay Sigmund Freud? The libido theory of psychosexual whatever. Diba? And of course, natural selection, evolution by Charles Darwin. Because, you see, natural selection is a process in which events that befall individuals alter the collective properties of population, requiring us to think statistically. So, mayroong maraming question mark regarding the concept of natural selection. But, look at this. Rediscovery of Mendel's idea in the 1900s and over 3 decades of work in population genetics before natural selection was widely accepted as a mechanism of adaptive evolution. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, when Darwin published his work, hindi pa niya alam yung work ni Mendel. Diba? When Mendel started his work on genetics and come up with his postulates, ano lang ang sinabi niya? That characters are basically made up of unit factors. Hindi niya ginamit yung genes. Diba? And that these unit factors exist in pairs. Hindi niya ginamit yung term ng alleles. Kasi hindi naman niya alam yung class eh. Ngayon na lang yun. Diba? One is more expressed while the other is not. So ngayon na lang ginamit yung dominance and recessiveness. Diba? And so on and so forth. So, several studies have been conducted and they found out that probably natural selection is considered true until they utilize the concept of artificial selection. In artificial selection, we always do that in animals, we always do that in plants. Paano natin ginagawa yun? Siyempre, di ba, pag meron kang binibili ka ng isang aso, diba, yung mga mahilig mag-alaga ng mga pets. Tapos talaga yun ang negosyo nila. Siyempre gusto nyo na yung magiging offspring nun ay puro. Di ba? You want that. Ayaw mo yung, halimbawa, bumili ka ng aso, sasabihin mo, ano ba to kuya? Sino bang namahilig sa mga dog? Puro ba ito? May ganun ba? May ganon? Oo, dapat purebred. Kasi, pagka pinakawalan mo lang siya dyan, sasabihin ng kuya, oo, ano yan? Talagang puro yan. Walang halo-halo yan. Tapos, babae yung napunta sa inyo kasi gusto niyo talagang breeder kayo, di ba? So, ano nangyari? No, nag-produce ng offspring, kung ano-ano yung lumabas, kaganin yung aso para lumabas ang kaiba. So, hindi siya pure. So, nadaya kayo. What else? When you try to plant fruits or pagka nagtatanim kayo class, syempre gusto mo yung the most superior output or most superior product, di ba? Ayaw mo yung pangit na itsura. Syempre, for example, nagtatanim ka ng, may tanim ka, gusto mo mas malaki yung bunga, mas maganda yung flower, and so on and so forth. You have to make sure that your plant, you're going to select it. That is technically artificial selection. You see, Darwin conducted artificial selection at that time, utilized pigeons. He tried mating it, but unfortunately, he was not so successful. Bakit? Kasi class, yung pigeons, ang hirap namang i-mate niya, siguro. That's number one. Number two, yung kanilang mga anak hindi ganun kadami. So mahirap aralin. Hindi katulad ni Mendel. Anong ginawa ni Mendel? He just got bored in the monastery. He started crossing peas. Diba? And then, he allowed the peas to grow, produce fruit. Tinanim niya, tumubo, binilang lang niya. Tapos tinamad siya, he allowed the peas to do selfie. And then tumubo ulit, tinanim niya, tumubo, binilang na naman niya. Diba? That's what Mendel was so successful because of the right organism that he used. Apparently, Charles Darwin is not. Was not so successful kasi mahirap aralin yung mga pigeons. Probably at that time. What else? This one, tomatoes. If you go to the market, there are several types of tomatoes. Siyempre, the tomatoes that you want class, kung ikaw ay gagawa ng tomato sauce, homemade tomato sauce, you want a bigger one rather than the smaller one. Therefore, for a long period of time, people were actually considering increasing the production of this by only cultivating seeds from fruits that are bigger than usual. Siyempre, diba, seeds from bigger fruits will also produce plants that will produce bigger fruits. And this is basically natural selection. Or rather, artificial selection. So, interestingly, yung mga wild tomatoes, ang tawag ay Solanum pimpinifolium. And then there's the usual one, which is Solanum lycopersicum. So, scientists now are so curious about the characteristic of this particular group of organism. And this is basically domestication. They were able to look at the gene responsible class for the early development of tomatoes. And they found out that there's a gene called FW2.2. Yeah. Okay? And this kind of gene is said to be coding for a protein that is made during early fruit development. And what is so interesting, class, with this type of protein is that the more the protein is produced, the smaller the fruit. It is a cell division repressor. Naintindihan? So, meaning to say, you're going to look at this, if you try to domesticate this one and keep on choosing the ones with bigger fruits, they found out that the FW2.2 is also being affected. Ibig sabihin, if we go down to the gene level, ito daw gene na FW2.2 ay mayroon siyang mga alleles. And therefore, di ba nag-genetics kayo? So alam niyo na yung mga term na sinasabi ko ha. So, when you look at, for example, the genes FW2.2, it contains alleles. And those alleles that prevent those alleles that is associated in repressing this growth is hindi mo siya gusto. So, ibig sabihin, ang kinuha mo ngayon ay yung mga tomatoes na merong allele for less FW2.2. Para daw, ang pag-produce ng mga tomatoes ay yung mas mga malalaki. Ako, di ba? Example, nasa right age na kayo. Tapos dati, yung mga time namin, ngayon ba na kayo? Yung mga time namin, siyempre, kapag niloloko yung mga dalagat mga binata, ang sasabihin ng mga uncles at mga aunts namin, or tito, tita, lolo, lola, o maitim ka na, maitim ka na, baka naman kumuha pa ng liligawan, o baka mag-girlfriend ka pa na maitim din. Diba? Wag na. Maghanap ka ng maputi. Para naman palakihan tayo ng maputi. Mga gano'n. Parang ganito yung gas. Diba? Wala na sabing pangit ka. May ganun ba ba class ngayon? O matangkad, maliliit tayo. Maghanap ka naman ng basketball player, para naman yung mga anak nyo tumangkad. Yung mga ganyan pa ba kayong gas na mga biruan? Meron pa rin. May ganun pa pala ngayon. Ha? Sa problem. Ano sinasagot nyo? Next. And so, a genetically determined difference in fruit size, the tomato on the left, yan, carries only domestic alleles of FW2.2. Similarly, on the right, copies of the wild allele. So, sabihin daw, these are unmanipulated, these are genetically unmanipulated domestic allele. And when they check on the genes of this, nakita nila that only those domesticated is characterized by having an FW2.2 that are not so expressed at all. Yeah. Okay? Next. There's another gene called FAS. And this one influences fruit size by controlling the number of compartments. So mamaya tingnan niyo yung tomato sa inyong bahay. Pag nagkakat kayo, tingnan niyo yung mga tomato minsan is marami yung mga sizes ng kanilang mga locules. Yung mga ganito. And this is considered to be due to a second gene that influences fruit size. So syempre, the more you want to consider this particular fruit size, the more that this particular gene will be made available. Hanggang sa mawala na yung wild type. Intindihan nyo? Kaya tingnan nyo class, pag nagpatubo kayo ng mga kamatis sa bahay ninyo at tumubo yun, kung ano yung kinuha ninyo, yun din yung lalabas. Wala na kayo, nakakita mo ba kayo ng kamatis na yun na, unless of course yung mga cherry tomatoes, diba? So iba yun. Iba yung mga allelic considerations nila. Pero ang marami talaga ay yung malalaking dominions. Naintindihan ba, class? Clear? Okay. So, now you have a grasp on artificial selection. Let us now go to the concept of natural selection. So, alam niyo na yung kwento ni Darwin. And si Darwin. Ano to si Wallace. Okay, so they're friends. And these are the postulates of Darwin. So kung si Mendel ay may postulates, si Darwin din ay may postulate. Number one, meaning individuals within a population differ from one another. So kung titignan niyo yung mga mukha niyo ngayon, tayo ay isang population. Do we differ from one another? Yes, di ba? Merong brown yung eyes, merong light brown yung eyes. Ano ba? Merong blonde. Di ba? Merong curly hair. Sino ang curly hair? O tingnan mo, natural ba yung mga curly hair?
Natural.
Natural. Ito siya, natural yung hair mo. Ikaw, natural. Si Pierre, natural ba yung curly hair mo? Pierre? O, diba? Ikaw, Miss Clark. So nakita nyo, there's variation. If we're going to map out straightness of the hair and curliness, makikita nyo na at a certain point, merong portions na mamamap out natin that there are equal with straight, di ba? To so straight and to a very curly hair. Tapos meron yung mga in-between lang. Naintindihan nyo? Siyempre yung mga nagpa-ribbon, hindi kasama yun. Dapat yun talagang natural. Next. The difference are at least in part passed from parents to offspring. Well, let's go to our hair. Yung mga group nyo ay, for example, ikaw, yung mommy mo ba at yung daddy mo ay curly hair? Di ba matatawa ka? Yung nanay mo ba curly hair? Hindi malamang yung tatay mo curly hair. Kasi ano na lang si... Isang class! Si Darwin ang ano na. Sabi na. Differences are in part passed from parent to offspring. Oh, yung mommy and daddy mo, sino ang curly hair?
Yung mom ko lang.
Oh, mami. Ikaw, ano? Letter P, di ba? Jack. Okay, so, kasi nga, curliness of the hair is a recessive character. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, yung mom or dad niya could be heterozygous for the hair. Anyway, so yun, that's number 2, ha? It should pass from parents to offspring. Third, some individuals are more successful at surviving and reproducing than the others. So, hindi natin pwede munang isama to sa example natin. Basta make sure that Darwin is saying that when these characters are passed on, there are individuals that are more effective and therefore they survive more. And those that survive are not lucky. Hindi raw sila swerte. Tandaan niyo yun. Instead, they succeed because the traits that they have that were inherited and passed on to their offspring is adaptable to that particular scenario. Ibig sabihin, class, ang evolution ay hindi dahil sa, ay, parang, hala, may ganito, mag-evolve ako. Mali yun. Meron ka ng character na ganun, you have that character already, and that particular character allowed you to survive. Kasi ang mga, tayo lang naman yung rational eh. Yung mga animals, they're not. Diba? That's why animals class survive because of that particular character that allowed them to adapt. Others are not like that. Humans, we adapt. That's why we are rational individual na alam na gagawa natin yung dapat gawin. Example, COVID. Diba? Kung hindi tayo rational being, ang mangyayari sa COVID class is mamamatay tayong lahat except yung mga tao merong ability to adapt COVID. Naintindihan niyo ba? So yun. Pero dahil sa rational being tayo, aalagaan natin yung sarili natin, iinom tayo ng gamot, magpapavaccine tayo. Naintindihan niyo? So, if you're going to look at this diagram, sabi ni Darwin, there is a variation among individuals. If you're going to look at this group of rats, you can see that there's variation in color from a deep brown to light ones. Pero there are gradients of colors. Naintindihan? Next, that variation is inherited. Ibig sabihin, if the offsprings are like this, the parents are definitely like this as well. If the offsprings are white, the offsprings are white as well. Next, more individuals are born than will survive to reproduce. Ibig sabihin, class, if you're going to look at the being, usually they form a perfect histogram with this particular character. Pero, sabi sa number 4, some variants survive and reproduce at higher rates than the others. Unfortunately, kung titingnan mo ang diagram na to, these rats are actually found in an environment na madali silang makita ng predator. And so, only those that are capable of hiding or probably camouflaging because they have that character that allows them to do so are the only ones that will survive. Naintindihan? Next, when you start counting it again, pag binilang mo daw sila ulit, makikita mo class that the histogram is different from the usual one. You can see that the mean shifted from the center to the right. Naintindihan? Therefore, if we're going to use the concept of genetics and consider coat color as characterized by having one gene, say letter A, and this is homozygous A, this is homozygous recessive, and this is heterozygous. Therefore, the mere fact that you have this particular type of features allowed this prey to eat this, then those genes characterized by having homozygous dominant and heterozygous diminishes already. So pag binilang mo ngayon, ang matitira na ng class ay yung mga homozygous recessive plus contain heterozygous. Therefore, if you started counting the genes or the alleles, makikita mo yung percentage bumababa. And therefore, if this is being passed on from generation to generation, then this one is already evolution. Naintindihan niyo ba? So yun ang sinasabi ni Darwin. Hindi ibig sabihin class na itong mga rats na to, nakita nila na mayroong predator, sasabihin nila, alam, magbago tayo ng kulay kasi kakainin tayo. Naintindihan niyo? Because these are not rational beings. Clear? And thus we have what we call as Darwinian fitness. So anong ibig sabihin nun? Darwinian fitness is the ability of an individual to survive and reproduce in its environment. Fitness of an organism is measured by how many offspring it produces compared to other individuals of its species. Again, adaptation refers to a trait that increases an organism's fitness relative to individuals without trait. Example, reverse transcriptase, yung ating pinag-aralan sa HIV. Remember, the first drug that was used was AZT. Diba? Naalala niyo yung lecture natin dati? Now, nung tinit yung mga patients with AZT, all those patients were susceptible or responded effectively. Pero, after a certain point in time, ano nangyari? Somehow, AZT becomes useless. Why? Because HIV, characterized by an unusual reverse transcriptase, dominates the population. And that is what we call as fitness, Darwinian fitness. COVID-19, di ba? Yung una, 2020, merong COVID-19. Pagdating ng 2021, nagkaroon ng mga variants. Delta, Omicron, Alpha, and so on and so forth. That is Darwinian fitness. It allowed that particular group to flourish because they have the gene responsible for survival. Naintindihan? Next. Look at this. Lactase is an enzyme which breaks down the sugar lactose. Sino dito ang umiinom ng gatas pero hindi makainom ng gatas? Kumbaga, ayaw niyo ng gatas kasi may tendency pumunta kayo ng CR after 1 hour. Meron ba dito? Gas? Wala. So, pag umiinom kayo ng, for example, bibili kayo ng milk tea or ng mga kape, lahat dyan sa favorite na hangout nyo, as in, milk lang talaga. Diba, latte, tapos whole milk. Pwede. O meron nagpapalit sa inyo ng latte pagawin naman oat milk yung gatas. Wala din. Wala. So talagang usual lang. Okay, hindi kayo lactose intolerant. Ngayon class, there are people who are lactose intolerant. Diba? What happened to them? They don't have the enzyme lactase, and therefore, when they drink milk, lactose goes to the intestine. Microorganisms in the intestine that are lactose fermenters, diba? They will start using that lactose, and they will release gas. Diba? Sa micro nyo, nagano'n kayo, diba? Yung may Durham shoe, ginawa nyo ba yun? Yung nag-produce ng bubbles as anyway, may experiment na gano'n. So that you will know whether there are lactose fermenters. But anyway, so ano itong mga ito? Lactose class is caused by or can be degraded by the enzyme lactase. And this is because of a certain gene called MCM6. Okay? MCM6 is associated in silencing the lactose genes, okay, and has retained a single mutation in European population. They have retained several different mutations in Africa and Middle East. Ibig sabihin ng class, yung mga tao na merong lactose intolerant, meron silang enzyme na lactase, is marami yan sa European population at saka sa Africa at saka sa Middle East. Pero, kung titignan nyo daw itong map na ito class, yan, mutant MCM6 fails to shut down the lactase gene in population practicing dairy agriculture. Therefore, these mutations were adapted. Ano ibig sabihin ng class? Ibig sabihin ay itong mga countries na nakikita nyo na ito, yan, they fail to shut down the lactase gene. That's why, itong mga tao na dito ay meron silang enzyme na lactase. So, pwede silang uminom ng mga dairy products, kumain ng dairy products. Naintindihan nyo? So ang tanong, bakit ganon? Kasi class, itong mga countries nito, tingnan ninyo, ito yung mga countries na laging meron mga baka, may sheep, di ba? Ito yung mga laging merong available na gatas na ginagamit na usual staple food every now and then. Naintindihan niyo ba? Now, tingnan niyo ngayon itong countries na to. Tingnan ito class. Di ba? Kita niyo? Halos wala o. Di ba? And karamihan daw class ng mga lactase na walang mga na hindi nagpa-function ay nandito sa lugar na yan. Bakit? Wala namang nag-gaano dyan ng sheep. May sheep ba dito sa Southeast Asia? Wala. Yung baka, wala naman eh. Diba? So in short, itong mga tao dito sa Indochina, sa area na yan, hindi sila class umiinom, hindi sila nasanay uminom ng milk or ng may dairy product. Yung Philippines, pag sino mo yan, probably meron tayong ganito. Pero naalala niyo class ng mga bata pa kayo. Kung tanong niyo sa parents niyo, pagka uminom kayo ng formula, syempre pinanganak kayo, tapos uminom kayo ng formula, may time doon na lagi kayong umiiyak. Tapos sasabihin ng doktor, wala, baka sumasakit yung tiyan niya. Tapos, gaganunin, sabi, may hangin. And then yung pupunin nyo ay hindi maganda. So sasabihin ng doktor, palitan natin yung formula. Ang ibibigay nila sa inyo ay lactose-free muna. Kasi baka inyong gene ay hindi naman ganun ka-effective. Kaso, after a certain period of time, mahal yun eh. Diba? Sasabihin ng doktor sa inyo, hahaluan natin, mami. Or minsan, bibigyan nyo siya nito, minsan hindi. So you might be asking, anong iniinom sir ng mga baby sa other countries? Breastfeeding talaga sila. Wala namang lactose yun. Okay. Next. Diba? Ngayon, karamihan ng mga plant-based milk, saan galing? So, dito. Diba? Karamihan Thailand, Australia. Diba? Karamihan ngayon, nandiyan yun. Sa Pilipinas na lang class na nauuso yung mga plant-based. Pero dati, marami na yun sa Thailand kasi hindi sila talaga umiinom. Ngayon, ako, dati uminom naman ako ng milk. As in, malakas ako uminom ng milk class, I eat cheese, mga ganyan. Pero hindi ko malakas ko uminom ng milk tea. Pero hindi ko maintindihan. Dati bago mag-pandemic, dyan sa may, di ba may Popeyes dyan? Merong Macau dati dyan eh. Dati, may Macau. Ano yung Macau? Bago mag-klase ng 2:30, kasi ang klase dati sa UP, 7:30 to 10:30, 11 to 2, tapos 2:30 to 5:30. May break na 2:30, 2 to 2:30. Yayayain ko sila, Sir John, sila Sir Steve. Yung Macau tayo, 50 tayo. As in, talagang puro milk yun. Pero lately, after ng pandemic, parang every time ako uminom ng milk tea, gusto masakit yung tiyan ko. Kaya, I don't know what happened. Siguro because hindi na effective yung lactase na enzyme. But I don't know. But what I'm trying to point out is probably it's an adaptation mechanism. Naintindihan ba, class? So, if you're going to look at this diagram, you can see that in the 9000 BC, people in this particular location, geographic location, nakikita mo na talagang they are raising cows, goats, diba? Milk, camels. Kinukuha nila kasi yung mga gatas nun. They use it for cheese, they use it for milk, they use it for food. Eh dito sa Southeast Asia, wala namang camel. Diba? Wala namang, ano naman meron dito? Water buffalo, diba? Carabao. Eh wala namang umiinom ng gatas. Hindi umiinom ba ng gatas ng Kalabaw Plus? Dito. Meron? Tingnan nyo, wala. Oh, pahinang muna ako ng 10 minutes. 10 minutes na pahinga. It was before the time of Mendel, and it was just based on observations. And later on, when people started reading Mendel's work, they started testing it as well. So gusto nila ngayong malaman, ito yung mga sinasabi ni Darwin, no? Ito po ba talaga ito? And so they started going back to the island and starting to check again the birds, o yung mga finches that Darwin investigated. So these are all finches, no, of various genera. And this finches class in the Galapagos Island, they eat specific type of food, ranging from plants, twigs, cactus, insect larvae, termites from dead wood, seeds of different sizes. And based on the evolution class, as far as the beak lengths are concerned, they found out that the finches is basically characterized by variations on beak sizes. So you have here just Spiza, yan, in your class. Several species of Juspiza, say Juspiza pilipidosa, Fortis, Magni rostris, and so on and so forth. The beaks class are dependent on the type of food that this particular finches eats. So this is another type of phylogenetic analysis of the different finches in Galapagos Island. So saan ba itong Galapagos Island na class? So there is actually a tour if you want to go to Galapagos. I think it's in Chile or in Peru. I don't know. Basta sakay ka ng bangka and then you go to the Galapagos Island. And this is actually made up of several islands, volcanic islands. And they started looking at the finches in the area. So, these are the medium finches that just Juspiza fortis. And they started looking at this and tagging. So, yung mga, itong si Grant and Grant, so magkasawa silang dalawa. And they started looking at the finches and they place aluminum and tags or aluminum bands and colored plastic bands to these finches, so that when they, it's more of a capture, mark, release type of study. So when they were released, they will be checking the area kung ano mga kinakain ito mga finches na ito. But of course, they started measuring everything. They measure the wing length, tail length, beak width, beak depth, and beak length. And then, they plotted it in histogram. So, anong itsura daw? Ganito. So, ano ang conclusion sa part na ito? How do you explain the graph? You can see that in this graph, that as far as the beak is concerned, it is highly variable. But these are all the same species of Juspiza. Pero, kung titingnan ninyo, the beak, feature of the beak depth ranges from 6 to about 11, with several outliers Pero ang mean is about 9, in between 9 and 10. Diyan? Now, this is the first postulate, which is finch population is variable. Diba yun yung unang postulate ni Darwin? That the population's character is highly variable. So check nito. Diba? Next. The next one is that the character should be heritable, meaning nai-inherit siya from parent to offspring. And so what they did here now is they wanted to know whether ito bang mga anak ng ano na ito, ng mga finches na ito, ay same din ba sila doon sa mga parents nila. So kung titignan yung class, they were able to measure the parents at 1976, and then they again try to measure the offsprings for about yung mga area nung bumalik sila dun sa lugar noong 1978. And when they checked the measurement of the peak, they found out that they are within, or the relationship is positive. It's highly correlated. So there's a positive correlation between the peak size of those in 1976 and 1978. So based on the assumption that those peak or those birds in 1978 were offsprings of those from 1976, yung kanilang consideration. That is understanding whether it is heritable. No? Ngayon, enough na ba yun para masabi mo na okay, na itong character na to ay nai-inherit? So they conducted another study class. This time, they wanted to know whether the offsprings releases a certain type of substance of high degree known as the bone morphogenetic protein, or BMP. So what they did here is they considered this BMP as a marker and active during embryonic development. So ang ginawa nila is they took the offsprings of several finches and they wanted to know whether yung kanilang offsprings ba ay may express BMP. Ibig sabihin, the more expressed the BMPs, the high chances of having a larger peak like this. And they correlate it to the parents. So photo shows a big buds for each species arranged by increasing mesenchymal BMP expression. And the bottom row shows the beak of the parents. And as you can see here that the offspring, yung embryo, is now increased or having an overexpress of BMP. Ibig sabihin, with this, yung anak nito, as an embryo, nagpuproduce na siya ng overexpressed BMP. Therefore, pag lumaki ito, malamang ang anak niya ay ganito rin yung itsura ng BMP. Naintindihan niyo? Therefore, the second postulate is correct. Naintindihan? Next. So they tried to look at now the relationship and they found out that the relative peak is mas mataas ang chances that those with parents characterized by having deeper peak have more expressed BMPs. Next, paano nila ma-detest ito? Itong third postulate. Ano ba itong third postulate? Do individuals vary in their success at surviving and reproducing? So they wanted to know now if this particular postulate, kung yung individuals ba ay magsasurvive. Pero ang tanong, paano nila magagawa itong ganitong klaseng testing ng postulate? Kailangan meron daw problem na ma-encounter. And good thing, they found out that there are certain birds that are very specific in eating specific type of seeds. Yung iba, ang gusto nilang seeds ganito. Yung iba, ang gusto nilang seeds ay ganyan. Naintindihan nyo? So, example. Yung ibang class, ang gusto nilang seeds yung soft, yung iba hard, yung iba malaki, yung iba maliit. Depende yun sa kanilang beaks. So, if for example, there were problems like drought in this case, the islands only get 24 millimeters of rain as compared to 130 millimeters of rain. Therefore, ano mangyayari? Yung mga tutubo lang dyan, class, ay yung mga adapted sa mga lower rainfall. So, ibig sabihin, only those hard seeds, large and hard fruits, ang magsusurvive. Ngayon, kung hindi mo gusto yung, if you cannot eat large and hard fruits, what will happen to you? Ano mangyayari sa'yo? You will die. Diba? So, ganun na nangyari dito, class. Here, look at this. At a certain point in time, in 1977 daw, yan, so we have 1975 and 1978, apparently, the total type of seeds available changes drastically. So kung titignan niyo dito, you have, in 1975, yung mga seeds, nasa mga 15 yung kanyang size. Tapos biglang, noong 1976, maliit na lang yung seeds na available. Pagdating ng 1977, ang available na lang na seeds ay yung mga large seeds. Bakit? Kasi noong 1977 daw class, nagkaroon ng drought. So ano nangyari ngayon? Kung titignan yung class, yung date from 1976 to 1977, where the seeds are so large, tignan yung class ko, the type of, the number of finches went down. Diba? Ito yun, no? Yung part na ito yun. So, 1976 to 1977, where seeds are, the ones that are left are the large seeds. Look at the ones, look at the number of finches available, went down as well. Likewise, the seeds, the available seeds is also declining from 1977. See? Diba? So, anong sabi dito? Researchers inferred that the decline is that they die of starvation. Hindi sila kumain. Kasi hindi naman siguro nila kayang kainin yun. Kaya sinasabi ko, di ba? Hindi sila, kasi nga hindi naman nila kasalanan na they can't buy it. It's just that their beaks are not that deep that they can break hard seeds. Naintindihan niyo ba? So, therefore, look at this. Darwin's fourth postulate was that the individuals who survive and go on to reproduce, or who reproduce the most, are those with certain variations. Therefore, if we're gonna go back here into the first histogram, di ba? Ito yung unang histogram natin. Sabi ko, di ba? The beak class ranges from about 9 to 10, the mean beak depth. After 1977 to 1978, binilang nila weak class yung mga finches. And look what happened. The size of the beak shifted now from left to right. So, ano nangyari? Mas marami na ngayon yung finches na may deeper beak as compared to the previous one. Therefore, if we're going to consider based on genotype, that beak depth is represented by A, and uppercase A is dominant over lowercase a, and say for example, deeper beak is dominant over, pagtalin natin, deeper beak is recessive as compared to the smaller ones. And because of what happened here, what do you think happened to the genotype or the allele frequencies of this particular finches? Ano sa tingin niyo kasi mangyari? If the deeper beaks are recessive and the smaller beaks are dominant, pero nangyari because of the drought, those with dominant characters did not eat. Ano nangyari sa kanila? Namatay sila. And the ones that were surviving are the ones with recessive character. So ang tanong ngayon, what happened to the gene? Ang nag-survive or the ones that is available in the gene pool are the recessive characters. Kasi nag-shift na siya from left to right. And this is a very good example, class, of evolutionary event. Hindi siya genetic drift. Kasi this is about natural selection. Only those who are capable of eating are the only ones that were able to survive. So, paano nyo maiintindihan ang genetic drift? Example, ganito yung itsura ng pig, di ba? Ganito yung histogram. Paano mo masasabi ng genetic drift? Lumindol, nalunod itong mga to, naging ganyan, that's genetic drift. Sumabog yung volcano, yung mga maliliit na big, nandun sila sa taas ng volcano, namatay sila. Ang naiwan yung mga nasa baba ng volcano, ito, that is genetic drift. But in this case, because these groups of organisms did not eat, based on available food, that is a typical example of natural selection. Therefore, when this one, pag ito ang nag-mate, for successive generation class, ang magiging mean mo ay nandito na. Naintindihan nyo? So yan. This is now how you actually test Darwin's postulates. Okay? All 4 of Darwin's postulates are true for medium ground finch population at Daphne medium. Darwin's theory therefore predicts a change in composition from one generation to generation. When the deep-beaked birds who survive the drought bred to produce new generation, they should have passed their genes for deep beaks. Chicks hatched in 1978 had deeper beaks on average than those with 1976 offsprings. Naintindihan ba, class? Yeah. In class. Naintindihan ba? Nagutin ko lang si D class. Kasi sinipsot ko lang siya. Eh, nakalilang accent siya sa akin sa pagod ako. Natural selection, yung mga consideration. So our goal in this section is to cover some key points about how selection does and does not. Number one, sabi, natural selection acts on individual, but the consequence is population. Kasi di ba lagi, evolution is population. Number two, natural selection acts on phenotype, but evolution consists of changes in allele frequency. So, nung yung sinasabi ko kanina, class, ito. I'll give you an example again. Halimbawa, ito yung recessive natin. Ang kanyang percentage ay, halimbawa, ay 100. Tapos ito ay ating dominant. Ang kanyang percentage ay, ang total individual class ay 150. Example only. Kaya hindi nga, ito yung una. Kaya hindi nga kumain to. Diba? So ano mangyayari? Ang natira dito, 80 na lang. Ito, 100 pa din. So ano nangyari? The total allele frequency changed already. From 150 to 80, and then this one remains the same. Naintindihan niyo ba? So, yan ang ibig sabihin ng frequencies or allele frequencies. Sa midterm, may computations tayo regarding allele frequencies. Okay? Next. Natural selection is not forward-looking. Ano bang ibig sabihin mo? Oh, yeah. Look at this. Natural selection is not forward-looking. Hindi ibig sabihin, class, na nagkaroon ng drought, kaya sasabihin ng mga pinches, ay kailangan nating mag-change ng pig size. Kasi mamamatay tayo. Naintindihan nyo? Again, this is natural selection. Kaya nga, ang tanong class ay ganito. Sa mga tao class na may ang HIV ba ay mag-e-evolve? Or ang human population ba ay nag-e-evolve kasabay ng HIV? So, if for example class, human population is said to be evolving in response to HIV, don't you think that HIV population is evolving as well? So, very good example yung ating ACT, di ba? Anong ginawa ng humans? Hindi nga nag-evolve yung human eh, kasi nga yung human rational. Ibig sabihin, ang ginagawa ng human, gagamutin natin, papatayin natin yung virus. Di ba? And so, the immune system doesn't really change. Walang nangyayari sa immune system mo. The immune system is just there. Naintindihan niyo ba, class? So, anong ginagawa natin? The human beings are not evolving against HIV. But the HIV class is evolving because we are introducing something. So, ano nangyari? Example, multiple drug resistance. Diba? Ngayon, meron daw raw mga tinatawag na multiple drug resistance Mycobacterial tuberculosis. So, does human evolve against Mycobacterial tuberculosis? Answer is no. Kasi the moment na ma-expose ka, diba, may possibility magkaroon ka. So, paano magkakaroon ng evolution against Mycobacterial tuberculosis? Kung meron kang 100 na tao lang sa isang island, example lang, i-infect mo sila ng Mycobacterial tuberculosis. 70 doon nagkaroon ng Mycobacterial tuberculosis. 30 hindi. Yung 70 lahat namatay. Okay? 30 ang natira. Nagkaroon muli ng Mycobacterial tuberculosis. Do you think mabubuhay pa yung Mycobacterial tuberculosis? Hindi na. Kasi yung natirang 30 are the ones that has the character. Parang ganito yung braso. Diba? Parang ganito yung nangyari. Ito yung natira kasi they have the character against it. Now, because meron kang isang island na meron 100 na tao, at na-infect sila ng Mycobacterial tuberculosis yung 70, binigyan mo ngayon ng gamot, diba? ng TB drug. 10 dun class hindi ininom na maayos. 60 gumaling. yung 10 hindi ininom ng maayos, nagkaroon pa ng TB ulit, secondary exposure and so on. Do you think may infect yung 30? Yes. Kasi bago na class yung nandun sa 10 hindi uminom na, hindi ininom nila ng maayos yung kanilang TB drugs. Nag-undergo ng mutation or possible evolution yung population doon sa TB drugs or hindi uminom ng maayos na TB drugs. Naintindihan niyo ba? Para ko. Natural selection acts on phenotypes, but the evolution consists of changes in allele frequency. Ito yung sinabi ko kanina. So, iinit nyo, ito na lang yung survive, so ito na lang yung dadami. Mawawala na yung, parang yung sa pamilya nyo, di ba? Anong sabi? O mag-asawa ka naman ng maputi kasi makikim tayong lahat. Di ba? So, yung nagkaroon sila ng anak, yung anak nila may isa doon maputi. So yung maputing iyon, sinabihan sila, huwag na mag-aasawa ng maitim ha. So hindi nga siya nag-asawa ng maitim. Nagkaroon ng third generation. Maputi na silang lahat. Ginawala na yung character ng maitim sa maitim. So pag nakita tuloy ng abo nila yung picture, hala, lolo ko ba yan? Diba? Hindi na niyo ba class? Although selection acts on existing traits, new traits can also evolve. Pwede naman daw yun. Starvation of small big individuals, for example, does not instantaneously create more variation in peak size among finches. Or it does create finches with big peaks. So, ibig sabihin class, hindi matching ang evolution. So evolution is not magic. Evolution is not saying, halika mag-evolve tayo kasi para mag-survive. Mali yun. Questions, class? Walang questions? Okay. So, naiintindihan ba yung lecture? So,